Hi, this is Deboogs. I'm making this video because yesterday I bought Elden Ring and was really frustrated that I couldn't get my Wii U Pro controller to work with the game. Now normally when I use my Wii U Pro controller to play games on my PC, I use this great program called WinUSoft. And if I hit sync here and then I hit the sync button on my controller, what WinUSoft does is it lets me use my Wii U Pro controller as an X input device on Windows. So if I click this, basically now Windows thinks that my Wii U Pro controller is a Xbox 360 controller, and that makes it compatible with most games. Unfortunately, when I was playing Elden Ring, or when I was trying to play Elden Ring wouldn't recognize any input from my Wii U Pro controller when I had it set it up like this. And I think I was able to diagnose the problem, and after a 3-hour battle, I was able to find a workaround, and I want to share that with you today. So let me type game controllers into the start menu and open this up. As you can see, Windows is recognizing two different controllers. Now, I know a lot of you are not going to use a Wii U Pro controller to play games on your computer. Maybe you're using a DualShock controller, maybe you're using just some third-party controller that you bought at Walmart, I don't know. But if you're using a direct input controller and some other program to emulate X input, and you're having trouble playing Elden Ring, then I think there's a good chance this tutorial is going to work for you. And especially if Elden Ring is not recognizing your controller inputs and you open this tab and you see more than one controller that Windows is recognizing, I think there's a really good chance this tutorial is going to work for you. Because I think what the problem is, if I open properties here, you can see that Windows is perfectly happy to accept all the inputs from this emulated Xbox 360 controller. But if I open this Nintendo controller, Windows doesn't even know that this controller has buttons, let alone that I'm pressing them all right now. I think the issue is that Elden Ring doesn't know what to do when it sees both of these controllers. If I open Steam right now, and I go to big picture mode, the programmers of Steam were smart enough to get the recognition from just the Xbox 360 controller and not worry about the fact that there's this other controller which doesn't have any inputs. And so you can see I'm able to control Steam Big Picture no problem. But if I open Elden Ring, by the way, funny thing, the adventure guide, I'm able to control using my Wii U Pro controller with Wii U Pro with no additional setup. That actually works fine, just like most of the games I play. It's specifically Elden Ring that has a problem, the actual main game Elden Ring. So if your controller is working with the adventure guide but not with Elden Ring, I think there's an even higher chance that the solution I present in this tutorial works for you. So let's just wait for Elden Ring to load. Yeah, like I was saying, I think the problem is that Elden Ring is not happy seeing two controllers, and Unlike Steam Big Picture, it kind of waits for recognition from the Nintendo controller, or maybe it's looking at recognition from both the controllers at the same time, I'm not sure, and it just doesn't accept any input. And so our solution is going to be to, so right now it says press any button. I'm hitting all the buttons on my controller, nothing's happening, so let me just use my mouse. The mouse still works, but I don't want to use my mouse, I want to use my controller. Let me just use my mouse. Okay, and I'm gonna exit out of this. So what I was saying is the solution is going to be to get Windows to no longer recognize that controller other than the 360 controller. We want the only controller to appear in that controllers tab to be the 360 controller, and then Elden Ring is going to work properly. So my controller is still working. I can use it to exit Steam. I want to completely exit out of Steam here. That's going to be important later. If you leave Steam running during this whole thing, it may not work properly once you try to start using your controller for it again. Okay, so we completely exit out of Steam. And what we're going to do is I'm going to Google White Knight whitelist, and I'll put a link to this page in the description of the video as well. So this person, I guess, encountered a similar problem with some game back in 2014, and when this person was using their DualShock 4 controller along with the Joy-Shock Mapper remapping app, and developed this program which lets you block all processes except for the remapping app or emulator that you're using, controller emulator that you're using, so that Windows, Elden Ring, any game you're trying to play will only recognize the 360 controller, but the program you're using for the remapping or the emulation is still able to access the Bluetooth device that you've connected, or possibly the USB device that you've connected. The direct input device that you've connected is what I'm trying to say. Okay. So let's download this program. Now, okay, so Firefox is not happy with this. Use this at your own risk. I'm hoping it's not a Trojan, but I can make no promises. If it is a Trojan, then we are in the same boat. So let's just hope that it's not a Trojan. Let me make some new folder. We'll call this White Knight. And I'll copy everything over. Okay, now let me open it. Okay, so Windows is also not happy. So again, please be careful. And okay, so the White Knight auto whitelister is now open. So what we want to do is we're going to want to install HID Guardian, and we want to install HID Cerberus. And now we want to start the service. Now that we've started the service, we click on HID Cerberus config page, and we get to this window in our browser. We want to scroll down, and you want to find whatever controller you have plugged in. So for me, this is this Nintendo RVL. If it has some generic name and you're having trouble knowing which one of these things is your controller, then look for the HID PID number. I mean, you might have to do some research to figure out what HID PID number your controller has, but once you find that, you click hide. So, okay, so it says access to the select device is now blocked. You need to unplug your device and plug it back in, so we'll do that in a minute. As you can see, this still appears here, which is a little weird, but if we scroll up, it is now the relevant HID PID number is part of the currently affected devices, so that's great. So we can close our browser. And now we want to do what the programs told us to do, which is to remove our controller and add it back. So let me go to WinUSoft, I'm going to remove, I don't know why I just opened NVIDIA, I'm going to close this, I'm going to hold the power button on my controller to turn it off. And now, so this isn't a tutorial for WinUSoft, but one of the quirks of using WinUSoft is you really have to get Windows to remove the device every time you disconnect it and want to reconnect it, otherwise it doesn't work properly. So it's a little weird, but that's what we got to do. So now we want to, and this is very important that you do this in the correct order, okay? Otherwise it may not work. You want to open the program you're using for the controller emulation or remapping or whatever the case may be. You want to click on Pick App, and then you want to click on the window that has your program. Now, if you did this earlier, maybe this is the second time you're trying to play Elden Ring because it's the next day and you're trying to do this again. It's important that after you open the program, you select Pick App and click on the program again. It will have the last program, the name of the last program you used saved, so it'll still say WinUSoft if you used WinUSoft and you open it again. But you need to do the pick app thing again because it's not going to recognize this new instance of the program as the one that needs to be whitelisted. Okay, so now that that's working, it should still say service running. That's good, that's important. If the service is not running, then what it means is it's going to block, I think what it means is it blocks your controller, but it doesn't run the whitelist. So that's why you have to have the service running. That's very important. And then if I go to sync and I sync button on my controller, this should work properly. All right, that's good, and I connect it. And now if I go to the game controllers window, yep, that was not right. If I go to set up USB game controllers, you can see that it only has the Xbox 360 controller for Windows as the only recognized controller, which is great. That's exactly what we want. So now if we open Steam again, and we go to Steam Big Picture, so I'm going to test out that this is working. So my controller is working with Steam Big Picture. That's good. That's an important first step. And then I go to open Elden Ring. We'll wait for it to load, but it should be working now. By the way, you're going to have to open this White Knight program every time you want to play Elden Ring because it's going to need to be open and running to have the whitelist working properly. And you're going to need to do the setup in the exact order I just did. Of course, you won't need to install it again, but you'll need to open everything in the same order I did. You won't need to go to the config page, and that will be remembered, but you'll have to do everything else in the same order. Okay, so I hit the plus button, and it's working. So now Elden Ring is recognizing my controller, and I can play Elden Ring. It's great. So thank you for watching. If you try this and it works for you, with a different controller, please leave a comment, because I'm really curious to know to what extent what I've described solves the problems people have been having getting their controllers to connect. I've seen online a lot of people are having problems getting their controllers to work properly with Elden Ring. So if you've been having that problem and this tutorial works for you, please tell me what controller it worked for with you, and maybe also what other third-party program you're running if that's the case. I also heard people were having like trouble getting their controller recognized by Elden Ring when they had their keyboard and mouse plugged in. That's not the case for me. I still have my keyboard and mouse plugged in, and that's working fine. But if you have only been able to in the past get Elden Ring to run by unplugging your keyboard and mouse, and now using this method that I described in the tutorial, you can just put the keyboard and mouse into that White Knight program, and that works. Please let me know about that too. I'm very curious. It seems like Elden Ring just does not like any inputs other than a controller, and I feel like this method should help with that in general, because it removes the amount of inputs it has to look for. So yeah, please let me know really anything you've done regarding this tutorial that helped you, so that people can read the comments and try to figure it out for themselves and then actually get to play this game the way it was meant to with a controller. Also, if you follow this tutorial and it does not work, please let me know, because I want to know what limitations there are. I hope this works for more controllers than just the Wii U Pro controller, but maybe it's a very specific solution just for my situation. So yeah, let's all work together. Let's try to, in the comments section, put together a list of a list of what works and what doesn't, and hopefully we can get more people playing this game. And hey, hopefully they can actually patch the game so it works properly. Anyways, thank you for watching, and good luck. I hope you're able to play Elden Ring and have a lot of fun playing it. Alright, bye.